The M72 Law, light anti-tank weapon, also referred to as the light anti-armor weapon or Law as well as Law's light anti-armor weapons system, is a portable one-shot 66mm unguided anti-tank weapon. The solid rocket propulsion unit was developed in the newly formed Rome and Haas Research Laboratory at Redstone Arsenal in 1959, then the full system was designed by Paul V. Choate, Charles B. Weeks, Frank Espanol, et.al. at the Hesse Eastern Division of Norris Thermador. American production of the weapon began by Hesse Eastern in 1963, and was terminated by 1983. Currently it is produced by Nammo Raufoss in Norway and their subsidiary Nammo Tally, Incan, Arizona. In early 1963, the M72 Law was adopted by the U.S. Army and U.S. Marine Corps as their primary individual infantry anti-tank weapon, replacing the M31 heat rifle grenade and the M20A1 super bazooka in the U.S. Army. It was subsequently adopted by the U.S. Air Force to serve in an anti-emplacement/anti-armor role in air-based defense duties. In the early 1980s, the M72 was slated to be replaced by the FGR-17 Viper. However, this program was cancelled by Congress and the M136AT4 was adopted instead. At that time, its nearest equivalents were the Swedish Peascod M/68, Miniman, and the French Sarpak. Background: the increased importance of tanks and other armored vehicles in World War II caused a need for portable infantry weapons to deal with them. The first to be used, with limited success, were Molotov cocktails, flamethrowers, satchel charges, jury-rigged landmines, and specially designed magnetic hollow charges. All of these had to be used within a few meters of the target, which was difficult and dangerous. The U.S. Army introduced the bazooka, the first rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Despite early problems, it was a success and was copied by other countries. However, the bazooka had its drawbacks. Large and easily damaged, it required a well-trained two-man crew. Germany developed a one-man alternative, the Panzerfaust, having single-shot launchers that were cheap and requiring no special training. As a result, they were regularly issued to Volkssturm Home Guard regiments. They were very efficient against tanks during the last days of World War II. However, the Panzerfaust was not a rocket launcher but instead a recoilless rifle. The M72 Law is a combination of the two World War II weapons. The basic principle is a miniaturized bazooka, while its lightweight and cheapness rival the Panzerfaust. Description: the weapon consists of a rocket within a launcher consisting of two tubes, one inside the other. While closed, the outer assembly serves as a watertight container for the rocket and the percussion cap firing mechanism that activates the rocket. The outer tube contains the trigger, the arming handle, front and rear sights, and the rear cover. The inner tube contains the channel assembly, which houses the firing pin assembly, including the detent lever. When extended, the inner tube telescopes outward toward the rear, guided by the channel assembly, which rides in an alignment slot in the outer tube's trigger housing assembly. This causes the detent lever to move under the trigger assembly in the outer tube, both locking the inner tube in the extended position and cocking the weapon. Once armed, the weapon is no longer watertight, even if the launcher is collapsed into its original configuration. When fired, the striker in the rear tube impacts a primer, which ignites a small amount of powder that flashes down a tube to the rear of the rocket and ignites the propellant in the rocket motor. The rocket motor burns completely before leaving the mouth of the launcher, producing gases around 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, 760 degrees Celsius. The rocket propels the 66mm warhead forward without significant recoil. As the warhead emerges from the launcher, 6 fins spring out from the base of the rocket tube, stabilizing the warhead's flight. The early Law Warhead, developed from the M31 heat rifle grenade warhead, uses a simple, but extremely safe and reliable, piezoelectric fuse system. On impact with the target, the front of the nose section is crushed, causing a microsecond electric current to be generated, which detonates a booster charge located in the base of the warhead, which sets off the main warhead charge. The force of the main charge forces the copper liner into a directional particle jet that, in relation to the size of the warhead, is capable of a massive amount of penetration. A unique mechanical setback safety on the base of the detonator grounds the circuit until the missile has accelerated out of the tube. The acceleration causes the three discs in the safety mechanism to rotate 90 degrees in succession, ungrounding the circuit. The circuit from the nose to the base of the detonator is then completed when the piezoelectric crystal is crushed on impact. Ammunition. The M72A2 law was issued as a pre-packaged round of ammunition. Improvements to the launcher and differences in the ammunition were differentiated by a single designation. The most common M72A2 laws came pre-packed with a rocket containing a 66 mm heat warhead which is attached to the inside of the launcher by the igniter. The standard M72A2 anti-armor heat warhead has an official stated penetration in 1977 of up to 20 cm/8 inches of steel plate, 600 mm, 2.0 feet, of reinforced concrete, or 1.8 meters, 5.9 feet, of soil. A training variant of the M72 law, designated the M190, also exists. This weapon is reloadable and uses the 35 mm M73 training rocket. A subcaliber training device that uses a special tracer cartridge also exists for the M72. A training variant used by the Finnish Armed Forces fires 7.62 mm tracer rounds. The U.S. Army tested other 66 mm rockets based on the M54 rocket motor used for the M72. The M74 TPA, thickened pyrophoric agent, had an incendiary warhead filled with triethylaluminium. This was used in the M202A1 flash, flame assault shoulder weapon, 4-tube launcher. The XM96RCR, riot control rocket, had a CS gas-filled warhead for crowd control and was used with the XM191 quadruple tube launcher. Once fired in combat, the launcher is required to be destroyed to prevent its use by the enemy as a booby trap. The enemy could collapse the launcher to its original configuration, fill it with explosives, and rig it to explode if moved by a soldier believing it to be unused. Due to the single-use nature of the weapon, it was issued as what is called a wooden round of ammunition by the Canadian Army and the United States Army, requiring no checks or maintenance, just as small arms ammunition can be stored in the same manner for years without any problems. Service history. Australia. The M72 rocket has been in Australian service since the Vietnam War. Currently, the Australian Defence Force uses the M72A6 variant, known as the Light Direct Fire Support Weapon, as an anti-structure and secondary anti-armor weapon. The weapon is used by ordinary troops at the section, squad, level and complements the heavier 84 mm Carl Gustav recoilless rifle and javelin missile, which are generally utilized by specialized fire support and anti-armor troops. Taiwan. Taiwan, the Republic of China Army, uses the M72 as a secondary anti-armor weapon. It is used primarily as a backup to the Javelin and M136, AT-4, anti-tank weapons. The weapon is later reverse-engineered into the Type 166 mm anti-tank rocket but is more popularly nicknamed as the Type 66 rocket due to its caliber. Finland. The M72 law is used in the Finnish Army, some 70,000 pieces, where it is known under the designations 66 Kes 75, M72A2, no longer in service, and 66 Kes 88, M72A5. In accordance with the weapon's known limitations, a pair of tank buster troops crawl to a firing position some 50 to 150 meters away from the target, bringing with them 4 to 6 laws, which are then used in rapid succession until the target is destroyed or incapacitated. Due to its low penetration capability, it is used mostly against light armored targets. The M72 is the most common anti-tank weapon in the Finnish Army. Finland has recently upgraded its stocks to the M72EC Law Mk.I version. It is designated 66 Kes 12. Claimed penetration for the M72EC Law is 450 mm of rolled homogeneous armor steel plate, nearly twice that of the M72A2. It also fields the bunker buster version, named M72ASMRC, and locally designated 66 Kes 12 rack. The oldest version 66 Kes 75 is now retired. Turkey. The Turkish army uses a locally built version by Makina ve Kimya Industrizi Kurumu, called Har 66, Hafif anti-tank roketi, light anti-tank rocket, which has the performance and characteristics of a mix of M72A2 and A3. Turkey also indigenously developed an anti-personnel warhead version of Har 66 AP and called it Ezek Ars, WASP. United Kingdom. The British Army had used the Nemo M72 under the designation Rocket 66mm Heat L1A1, but it was replaced by the Law 80 during the 1980s. The M72 rocket was reintroduced into British service under the Urgent Operational Requirement Programme, with the M72A9 variant being designated the Light Anti-Structure Munition, LASM. United States. During the Vietnam and post-Vietnam periods, all issued laws were recalled after instances of the warhead exploding in flight, sometimes injuring the operator. After safety improvements, part of the training and firing drills included the requirement to ensure that the words W/coupler were included in the text description stenciled on the launcher, which indicated that the launcher had the required safety modification, S. With the failure of the M72's intended replacement, the Viper, in late 1982 Congress ordered the U.S. Army to test off-the-shelf light anti-tank weapons and report back by the end of 1983. In partnership with RAFOS, Tally Defense offered the M72E5, which offered increased range, penetration, and better sights. This was tested along with 5 other light anti-armor weapons in 1983. Despite the improvements that the M72E5 offered, the AT-4 was chosen to replace the M72. Although generally thought of as a Vietnam War-era weapon that has been superseded by the more powerful AT-4, the M72 Law found a new lease on life in the operations by the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marine Corps, and Canadian Army in Iraq and Afghanistan. The lower cost and lighter weight of the Law, combined with the scarcity of modern heavy armored targets and the need for an individual assault weapon versus an individual anti-armor weapon, made it ideal for the type of urban combat seen in Iraq and mountain warfare seen in Afghanistan. In addition, a soldier can carry 2 laws on a mission as opposed to a single AT-4. The U.S. Marine Corps Systems Command at Quantico, Virginia placed a $15.5 million fixed contract order with Tally Defense for 7,750 M72A7s, with delivery to be completed in April 2011. The M72A7 Law is an improvement on previous versions, including an improved rocket motor for a higher velocity to accurately engage targets past 200 meters, an insensitive munitions warhead to reduce the likelihood of an accidental explosion, and a Picatinny rail to mount laser pointers and night sights. The Law is useful in Afghanistan as a small and light rocket system for use against short and medium-range targets by foot patrols in the difficult terrain and high elevations of the country. The U.S. military is still purchasing Law rockets as of January 2015. Vietnam. Several M72A1 and M72A2 laws captured from Vietnam War have been put into service with the chemical force of the Vietnam People's Army. The launchers are upgraded to be able to fire multiple times and are armed with M74 incendiary rounds. Specifications: M72A2 and M72A3. Launcher. Length. Extended, less than 1 m, 39 in. Closed, 0.67 m, 26 in. Weight. Complete M72A2, 2.3 kilograms, 5.1 pounds. Complete M72A3, 2.5 kilograms, 5.5 pounds. Firing mechanism, percussion. Front sight, reticle graduated in 25 m range increments. Rear sight, peep sight adjusts automatically to temperature change. Rocket. Caliber, 66 mm, 2.6 in. Length, 508 mm, 20.0 in. Weight, 1.8 kilograms, 4.0 pounds. Muzzle velocity, 145 m/s, 475 feet/s. Minimum range, combat 10 m, 33 feet. Minimum arming range, 10 m, 33 feet. Maximum range, 1000 m, 3300 feet. Penetration, 300 mm, 12 in. Maximum effective ranges. Stationary target, 200 m, 220 yd. Moving target, 165 m, 180 yd. Beyond these ranges there is less than a 50% chance of hitting the target. Operators. Current operators. Australia, M72A6 variant. Austria. Belgium. Canada. Mexico. Chile, M72A3 variant. Egypt, purchased 5,000. El Salvador. Indonesia. Israel. Italy, M72A5 variant since 2007. Malaysia. Finland. Georgia. Greece. Kosovo, Kosovo Security Forces. Luxembourg. Lebanon, Lebanese Armed Forces. Morocco. Netherlands. New Zealand. Norway. Philippines. Portugal. Romania. South Korea. Spain, M72A3 variant. Syrian National Coalition. Taiwan. Thailand. Turkey. United Kingdom, used by the British Army from the 1970s to the early 1990s. The M72A9 variant was reintroduced into service for the Afghanistan War. United States. Yemen. Vietnam. Former users. Khmer Republic. Denmark. FNLA. South Vietnam. Type anti-tank rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Place of origin United States. Service history. In service 1963 present. Used by sea operators. Wars: Vietnam War. Cambodian Civil War. Laotian Civil War. Lebanese Civil War. Falklands War. Bougainville Civil War. Bosnian War. War in Afghanistan. Iraq War. Syrian Civil War. Yemeni Civil War. Production history. Designer Fosbanail, CB Weeks, and PV Choate. Designed patent filed 1963. Manufacturer Norway, Namo, Raufoss, Norway. US, Namo Tally, Mesa, Arizona. Turkey, under license by MKEK. Unit cost €670 or $750 US, converted. Specifications. Weight 2.5 kilograms, 5.5 pounds. Length 24.8 in, 630 millimeters, unarmed. 34.67 in, 881 millimeters, armed. Caliber 66 millimeters. Muzzle velocity 145 m/s, 475.7 feet/s. Effective firing range 200 m, 660 feet. Detonation. Mechanism. Point initiated, base detonated.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.